Real Madrid have just signed a 19-year-old for a deal that could reach 125 million euros. And if you don't know Yan Diomande yet, that's about to change. Because the strangest part isn't the money. It's where this story started. Not at an academy in Madrid, not in Paris, not in London, not even in one of Europe's famous football factories. It started in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, with a kid who grew up loving football and dreaming about becoming a professional before his journey took one of the least obvious routes imaginable. Florida, then Spain, then Germany, and now Real Madrid. On August 6, 2026, Real Madrid secured Diomande from RB Leipzig on a 7-year contract running through June 2033. The financial terms were not officially disclosed, but reports put the deal at up to 125 million euros, with further performance-related add-ons potentially taking the package even higher. At 19 years old, Diomande has already become one of the most expensive young players in football, but that number doesn't explain why Real Madrid wanted him. To understand that, you have to go back to Abidjan. Yan Diomande was born on November 14, 2006, in Côte d'Ivoire, a country that has produced some of African football's most recognizable names: Didier Drogba, Yaya Touré, Gervinho. Football was everywhere, and Diomande was another kid trying to find his place inside it. One of the most striking images from his childhood shows him wearing a fake Cristiano Ronaldo shirt with Ronaldo 7 written across the back in black marker. At the time, it was simply a child copying his idol. Years later, the image feels almost like the opening frame of a story nobody could have predicted, because the kid wearing a fake Ronaldo shirt would eventually find himself playing at the highest level of European football, surrounded by the same kind of stars he once watched from a distance. Diomande's early development took him through AFI Sud Comoé Academy, and by 2022, his path took another unexpected turn. He moved to the United States and joined DME Academy in Florida. For a young Ivorian footballer trying to reach Europe, it was an unusual decision. DME was a private sports academy whose reputation was especially strong in basketball, not elite European football. But Diomande wasn't looking for the conventional route. He was looking for an opportunity. At DME, he played for Uli High School and the academy's affiliated side, AS Frenzy, and in 2023, he helped Frenzy win the United Premier Soccer League Premier Division title. Diomande scored twice in the final and was named the league's Golden Boot winner. DME also named him its STARI Player of the Year. Suddenly, the teenager developing in Florida wasn't just another promising player. People outside America were beginning to notice. In October 2023, he even went on trial with Rangers in Scotland. The move didn't happen. He returned to DME. Another door closed. Another opportunity disappeared, but Diomande kept going. And eventually, Spain opened the door. In late 2024, CD Leganés agreed to bring him into their system, giving him the chance to finally test himself in the country where so many of the world's best footballers had developed. Leganés weren't Real Madrid, they weren't Barcelona, they weren't Atletico. They were a club trying to compete in La Liga after earning promotion, and Diomande was still a teenager trying to understand professional football. But sometimes the most important part of a career is not the size of the club. It's the moment when somebody finally gives you a real chance. In March 2025, that chance arrived. Diomande made his first team debut for Leganés, and the opponent was Real Madrid. Think about that for a second. The teenager from Abidjan who had developed in Florida had made his first La Liga appearance against the biggest club in the world. He came on late at the Santiago Bernabéu, and Leganés eventually lost 3-2. Diomande didn't score. He didn't produce the kind of performance that instantly turns a teenager into a global superstar. But he had stepped onto the Bernabéu pitch. He had experienced the level, and he had no idea yet that he would eventually return there wearing white. Diomande finished his first senior season with 10 La Liga appearances and 2 goals. Leganés were relegated. From the outside, it could have looked like the beginning of a setback. Instead, it became the launchpad. RB Leipzig activated his €20 million release clause in July 2025 and gave him a 5-year contract. Leipzig had a reputation for taking young players before the rest of Europe fully understood what they could become. Diomande was exactly the kind of gamble they liked: young, explosive, direct, versatile, and still unfinished. His first Bundesliga appearance could hardly have been more intimidating. Leipzig traveled to face Bayern Munich, and the teenager's introduction to German football ended in a 6-0 defeat. But the result didn't erase the talent. Diomande kept playing. He scored his first goal for Leipzig in the German Cup, then found the net in the Bundesliga against Augsburg. And then in December came the performance that changed the conversation around him completely. Leipzig faced Eintracht Frankfurt on December 6, 2025. Diomande came alive. 3 goals, 18 minutes, a hat trick. At 19 years and 22 days old, he became the second youngest player in Bundesliga history to score 3 times in a single match. Suddenly, this wasn't just a teenager with potential. This was a teenager deciding Bundesliga matches. And what made him so dangerous wasn't simply speed. Football is full of fast players. Diomande's real weapon was what he did with that speed. He could carry the ball directly at defenders, shift direction, attack from either side, and accelerate through the space created by his own movement. He didn't want to receive the ball and wait for the game to come to him. He wanted to make the game move. He wanted defenders turning backwards. He wanted them making decisions under pressure. And once they gave him half a yard, he could turn that half yard into a chance. By the end of the season, the numbers had become impossible for the biggest clubs in Europe to ignore. Reuters reported that Diomande finished the Bundesliga campaign with 12 goals and 9 assists, helping Leipzig finish third and qualify for the Champions League. But there was another side to his rise that statistics couldn't explain. Roxane. His sister died when she was 15. Diomande later wrote about her and the effect her death had on him. He wrote because speaking about the loss was difficult. He wrote about their childhood, about the journey that followed, and about the promise he wanted to keep. He wanted her name to live beyond the tragedy. That makes the story behind the transfer fee feel different, because football sees a winger. Leipzig saw a developing star. Real Madrid saw a potentially generational player. But Diomande has always carried something more personal onto the pitch. And by the time the summer of 2026 arrived, the rest of Europe had started catching up. Clubs interested in him were no longer hidden. His performances had made him one of the most valuable young attackers in the game. And Real Madrid eventually decided they wanted to move before his price could climb even higher. On August 6th, the agreement became real. Real Madrid had their player. 7 years. Through 2033. A reported package potentially reaching 125 million euros, with add-ons that could push the total further. And now comes the fascinating part. Real Madrid didn't sign Diomande because they needed another talented footballer. They signed him because they believe his particular combination of age, physical ability, directness, and upside can become extremely valuable in their next era. He's arriving at a club where the expectations are completely different from anything he's experienced before. At Leganés, simply making the first team was an achievement. At Leipzig, becoming one of the Bundesliga's most exciting young attackers was a breakthrough. At Real Madrid, being exciting isn't enough. The pressure is different. Every bad performance gets analyzed. Every missed chance gets replayed. Every transfer fee becomes a number hanging over the player's head. And 125 million euros is a very large number to have attached to your name at 19. But maybe that's exactly why Real Madrid made the move. They aren't buying a finished superstar. They're buying the possibility that he becomes one. And that distinction matters. Nobody knows whether Yan Diomande will become a Ballon d'Or contender. Nobody knows whether he will become one of the defining wingers of his generation. Nobody knows whether he will eventually look back at this transfer as the moment everything changed, or simply the beginning of another chapter. Real Madrid don't have those answers either. What they have is evidence. They have a teenager who left Abidjan and ended up developing in Florida. They have a player who found his way into Spanish football through Leganés. They have a winger whose first La Liga appearance came against Real Madrid itself. They have a teenager Leipzig paid 20 million euros for and then watched transform into a 12-goal, 9-assist Bundesliga player. They have a player who has already experienced rejection, relocation, adaptation, pressure, and grief before turning 20. And now they have decided that all of that is worth a reported 9-figure investment. Every stage gave him something different. Florida gave him an unconventional development environment. Leganés gave him professional football. Leipzig gave him the platform to explode. And Real Madrid have now given him something else entirely, the stage where potential stops being a secret, because the kid who once wore a fake Ronaldo shirt in Abidjan is no longer dreaming about playing alongside the world's best players. He's walking into the dressing room with them. The teenager who once traveled halfway across the world looking for an opportunity has now arrived at the biggest opportunity of his life. And the strange thing is, the 125 million euros doesn't mean the story is finished. It means the story has entered its most interesting chapter, because Real Madrid have already made their bet. Now Diomande has to show the world why they made it. The kid from Abidjan has arrived in Madrid, and for the first time in his career, nobody is wondering whether he can make it to the top. They're wondering just how high he can go.